Hello friend, welcome back. This is going to be part 2 of talking all things business and finance related to video production. If you're someone who is making money with the camera, starting to freelance, or you've been working for a while, I hope these tips would be helpful for you. Been wanting to dive into more business related topics on this channel. And so go watch part 1. If you missed it, we're going to be diving into some more specific beyond just, the complete basics for beginners in this video. And before we dive in, I'm going to give you the same disclaimer as I did last time. I'm not a finance expert. I'm not a business expert. None of the advice in this video should be considered professional advice. You should consult with a CPA in your area to answer specific questions, how you should think about your business, structure things like taxes, paying yourself, how it should be filed, all that. You need to search that out for yourself. I'm just here to share my personal experience in general in hopes that it would help you. I'm making these videos for just the younger version of myself that started making money with a camera and didn't know where else to go for some of the business advice. So picked up on a lot of this just over the years working in the industry as a freelancer, also starting to run a small freelance video production company. So if any of that is interesting to you, stay tuned and we will get into it in this video. So in the last video, we hit on steps 1 through 6. They're all pretty basic. Step 7 is where I'm going to pick up in this video, and that's going to be contracts. This really could be step 1 before you ever make a dime with a camera, but it made more sense to me to put it here, as I think getting going with some of those other things. A lot of people start making money with the camera before they get to contracts. But if you're getting hired to make someone a video, if you're being paid, you need a contract. This is basically just the agreement in writing. So who are you being hired by? What is the scope of the project? What are the deliverables? What is the due date? And what happens in a bunch of these scenarios if something were to change? Something like a reschedule, something like the client trying to cancel. A contract exists so that there's an agreement between you and whoever's hiring you, and it is there to fall back on in the event of a miscommunication or something going wrong with the project. I wish I had a template that I could just give you guys for free. My advice would be to actually just ask others that you're friends with or in your industry, in your city, ask them what they use. I think a lot of people in this industry really are willing to help out, especially with things like contracts. So reach out to someone you know who's maybe a step or two ahead of you. Maybe they've been freelancing for a while, and get a sample of their contract, see how it is laid out. You don't have to use it verbatim, but you can take it and apply it to the template you're going to design yourself for your business. I think another resource worth mentioning is Professional Photographers of America, or PPA. It's who I have a business insurance through, and they actually have contract templates that you can use. I don't love the design, but I like that they give you access to some of the things that you might want to include. If I were to do this, I would just take this and probably reformat it so it looks a little bit better and more clear for your clients, but it is there and included with your insurance if you use them. Having the PDF copy of your contract is one thing, but sending it to the client is the next step. And so for me, I have the Dropbox Essentials subscription, gets me access to some cloud storage, but in addition, Signatures, as they bought one of the larger signature companies a few years back. And so I send all my contracts for electronic signature through Dropbox. It's really easy. You can actually use templates. So once I have my template set up, I'm only changing who I'm sending it to, the scope of work, the deliverables, the due date. Everything else is set in stone, so I don't have to generate a new contract every time. A free option that I used for several years, if you don't want to dive into Dropbox or another paid service, is Eversign. I think they let you send about 3 documents per month. It's actually what I started with. I think it used to be 5, but I would send contracts to my clients through Eversign. It worked great. You can't use templates, but if you're starting out and wanting to save money, theirs is free, and I think there's several others out there these days that offer, kind of a free plan so you can get started. So do a Google search, see what works well for you, but wanted to point you in the direction that I used to use as well as what I use now. So feel free to check into those and use whichever one works best for you. Step 8 is going to be project management. And I'm not going to dive really deep into this one, as I did a full video on this, I think last year. And so I'm just going to link to that down below if you want to check it out. But I basically use a spreadsheet inside of Google Sheets that is like mission control for all things related to my business. It helps me track projects that I have going on, how much money I'm making on those projects, and gives me estimates for things like taxes, lets me log some, annual expenses that I know my business is going to have every year. Basically just gives you a overall snapshot of your business. So if you're interested in that, I'm actually giving it away for free. You guys can go find all the information in that previous YouTube video that I will link down below. Step 9 is going to be around hiring contractors. I just have a few tips in here that I wanted to share. So as your business starts to grow, it's probably going to be a scenario where you need to contract someone else. This happens to me several times a year. I'm hiring independent contractors to come help me on set. This might be a PA, this might be a photographer, this might be a gaffer, someone I'm bringing on to my project. They're not an employee with me. They're not on payroll of any kind, but I need to pay them. So my first tip is going to be similar to what I talked about in the first video, but don't use Venmo, don't use PayPal, don't use Zelle. The ideal scenario would be they invoice you through something like QuickBooks, however they do bookkeeping, but I have often run into it where some of the people I'm hiring, especially as like PAs, do not work in this industry full time and they don't have a professional way to accept payment. And so for this, avoid the kind of personal payment options like Venmo. I also don't like the hassle of writing paper checks and mailing them. And so this tip, I think I actually learned last year, but when you have to pay somebody that doesn't have a way to accept payment, my bank actually has a bill pay feature. I think this is common at a lot of banks, but it's common on both my personal accounts as well as where I have my business account. Basically, it lets the bank generate a check for you and it's mailed out. For me, this happens free of charge. So I could simply go online, put in their info and generate a check for a specific amount to be mailed out on a specific date. It helps just paying contractors be really easy. It's free of charge. I don't have to handle the hassle of mailing a check or using something like Venmo. Final bonus tip that I'll have in there is just if you are going to be hiring a contractor in the calendar year and the total amount you'll be paying them throughout the year is more than $600, you're going to need to get a W-9 from them so that you can write it off on your taxes so you're not liable for that expense. So my habit is just whenever I'm hiring a new contractor to work for my business, before they ever get paid for the first time, I just require that they send me a W-9. That means I have it on file ready to give to my accountant whenever I have to file my 1099s for independent contractors. Step 10 is going to be actually paying yourself from your business. There's a lot of different ways that people choose to do this. I have found this method that works for me. You might want to do something different. I just want to share my personal experience. Mine might be unique the way my brain works, but the easiest way for my brain to kind of work, the way I like finances to work, is just for it to be very clear. So in a sense, I just pretend like I am on salary from my video production business. I transfer what is called an owner's draw, which is every month, just the same amount gets transferred from my business account to my personal account. And this is what me and my wife live off of for all of our daily expenses. So things like rent, bills, anything that is not related to the business, it is like I am on salary. This is the amount that we're budgeting based off of, and just keeps it really simple for me. So for an easy, just round example, we're going to set this number at $5,000. If you don't know what this number would be for you, I would encourage you to do just kind of a financial audit, get a picture of what your personal finances are looking like. You need to know things like your essential expenses and build a budget for your personal life that, fits within what you're able to make from your business and transfer each month. I want to preface all this by saying this is something to build up towards and work to. When you're first starting out, you're probably not going to be able to transfer the same amount each month like it's a salary. This is what I've done after several years of building my video production business, but just know that can be a goal if you're currently just having everything in one account and you wish there was a little bit more separation. I think that is a great goal to work towards, of having these things separate but also consistent amount that you're living off of. You want to make sure to build in, buffer where, this is the money that you're going to be paying your rent, all your expenses. You want a little bit that you're going to be able to spend on personal spending, not business related. And then you're also going to want to be saving as well. So whatever number works for you, 5,000 is just an easy example that I'm going to use later on in this video to talk about some additional financial tips. I would also point you to YouTube channels such as Dave Ramsey and The Money Guys. I think they make really helpful, accessible content that is pretty tried and true across the board and is a great place to start if you're looking to learn more about budgeting and how to live on less than you make. Step 11 is going to be having an emergency fund. If you guys have freelanced for any length of time, it can be really up and down. And one of the best ways of kind of protecting yourself from feeling those changes all the time is to actually have cash reserves set aside in what we're calling an emergency fund. For me, I have one in my business account that acts as a buffer of sorts between all the different transactions coming in and out. And it is at least 3 months of the amount that we are transferring to my personal account each month. So for our round example, we had set that at $5,000. So in this example, that amount would then be $15,000. Well, this might sound like a lot at first. I just wanted to encourage you guys that it is possible. Start with just $1,000, then from there do 5,000, so you can have 1 month set aside, and then really work up to 3. I think this is something that all filmmakers, people who are freelancing, should prioritize over things like new gear. A lot of us love to buy new things, but if this is not in place and you are continually spending money on your business, I would really caution you, as you can really quickly just end up in a pretty tight spot, and the emergency fund is there to protect you from that. After you've built one up for your business account, I would also encourage you then to have one for your personal account. Start with that $1,000, get that saved quickly, but then build up till you have at least 3 months of expenses in your personal account there as cash reserves. To find that number, this one is a little bit more tricky, but you just want to add up all your essential expenses like rent, utilities, food, gas, etc., and then multiply that number by 3 to get that 3-month amount. So for just another round, easy example, if the amount you're transferring each month is $5,000, maybe your essential expenses that you would, need to cover are $3,000. So we would work towards saving $9,000 in our personal savings. When you do both of these, both the business account and the personal account, you will end up with basically a combined 6 months of cash reserves to have on hand, a buffer in your business account to handle, slower months or you're waiting on a payment from a client, and also some cash set aside in your personal accounts to cover anything that might come up that is not related to your business, such as, an unexpected car expense, car repair, house repair if you own a house. And because this step is closely related to personal finance, I wanted to share one more additional encouragement, and that is related to debt. If you are in debt of any kind, I would encourage you to work towards getting out of it. This would be especially true of high interest debt, things like credit cards, maybe medical bills, even a car payment that has a very high interest rate. But I would extend the encouragement further beyond that. If you have very low interest, student loans, just some payments that are hanging on, my encouragement to you, if you are a freelancer, if you wanted to pursue this career and, make it through the ups and downs, the hard seasons, I think a great goal that you can have is to do that debt-free. It's less about, can you maximize the amount that you're investing if you leverage debt, and more about just the peace of mind that you have when everything in your life is paid for. Other than a house, I think having, a mortgage is pretty much unavoidable. You're not going to go buy a house with cash, but when it comes to gear, things in your personal life, car, really set yourself a goal of being debt-free, and you'll have a lot of peace of mind. Final step I'm going to leave you with is signing up for business insurance. For this, I carry equipment coverage as well as general liability. I'm not going to go into why specifically you need this. Just know if you're working in this industry, if you are a professional, if you're running a business, if you're a freelancer, you want to sign up and get insurance. For this, I'm going to point you to Professional Photographers of America, or PPA. They're who I use for my insurance. Signing up was really easy, and I love that their coverage is specific to people like me who make a living using a camera. I pay $428 a year. That's about $35 a month, but that is actually cheaper than what I was paying before when I had got business insurance through an insurance agent. It was another random company. So I actually saved money when switching to PPA. One benefit that I actually wanted to make note of that I forgot to use last year is just their approach to equipment repair. So totally didn't cross my mind, but I broke my Fujifilm camera last year, fried the HDMI port, made a whole video on it, had to send it into Fujifilm for repair, several $100s. PPA actually has a $50 flat rate fee for any repair once you can prove ownership and you show them the receipt for the repair. So you still have to pay out of pocket initially to get the repair done, but then you will get reimbursed on the back end for everything up to that $50. And the best part is your premium will not go up. in response to making a claim, getting a piece of insurance repaired. So I totally forgot about this, but this is something that I was recently talking about with a friend as they were looking into getting something repaired. And I just think it is a no-brainer. The more equipment that you invest in, just making sure to have that covered is really important. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that part 1 and now this part 2 were helpful to you. Please let me know any questions down below. And again, I'm not a business expert, I'm not a finance expert, but hopefully hearing a little bit of my personal experience and approach in these videos would be helpful to you. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.